Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Miss Poppins, Art of Parenting. I'm your host, Nikki, the founder of Miss Poppins. Whether you're expecting, supporting a loved one through pregnancy, or just curious about the journey, today's episode is filled with insights and emotional moments you won't want to miss. Our topic is what to expect and prepare at each ultrasound appointment. Before we jump in, make sure to follow, like, and subscribe Miss Poppins so you never miss an upcoming episode or specialist real parenting talk. I'm incredibly excited to welcome our guest today, Ellen, founder of Sona, an innovative app that allows expectant parents to easily access and share their baby's ultrasound images and videos. Ellen, welcome to the podcast. So glad to have you.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
Ultrasounds are such a meaningful part of the pregnancy experience, but they can bring up questions, excitement, and nerves. So, why don't we dive right into it? Maybe walk us through the general timeline of ultrasounds throughout pregnancy. What are the major appointments, and should the parents expect? It'd be great to get some key learnings from you.
Sure. This is going to vary from person to person, case to case, but we typically see that a low risk pregnancy, so someone that's under the age of 35 without any complications, will have between 3 and 4 ultrasounds in their pregnancy. So the standard ultrasounds are one for dating. So that happens between 6 to 8 weeks. It checks the heartbeat, makes sure the baby is viable. The next one happens around 12 weeks. There's like a short window of time, 11 weeks to 13 weeks, where it's an early risk assessment. So it will take some measurements of the baby, the neck, the femur, and it helps determine any like chromosomal abnormalities like Down syndrome. Typically, that might be paired with a blood test. Then the fetal survey is the big one that happens at around 20 weeks, 18 to 21 weeks. That is the more in-depth, longer ultrasound that will scan every single body part of the baby, all of its fingers, toes, organs. There's a lot of measurements to get, but the baby is fully developed at this point and just growing and getting bigger and adding fat. So that's the kind of the halfway point one. And then a lower risk pregnancy might get one more, around 32 to 36 weeks to measure growth. So that's a growth ultrasound. If you are over 35, or if you're at high risk, you could get a lot more ultrasounds. Typically on the second half, after that 20-week ultrasound, you could be followed, every couple weeks, every week. With twins, it could be every week. But they say the average is about 5 ultrasounds of pregnancy.
I can attest to that. I had a high risk pregnancy with my twin boys, and
Twins.
yes, twins. And I was excited at first about going to the ultrasound appointment, but when it became weekly, it was a lot. But you're right, every pregnancy is different, and to follow, of course, the
Yeah.
OB's guidance. But thank you for the high level overview of the timelines. I am sure there's misconceptions, just like there's myths around so many of such procedures. What are some common misconceptions about ultrasounds, especially for first-time parents to know?
Yeah, there's two big ones. One is a gender. We see a lot of people typically think they can find out the gender and will plan a huge gender reveal around their 12-week ultrasound. Sonographers, the person doing the scan, they may be able to have a pretty good idea of what the gender is going to be at 12 weeks, but the genitals actually aren't fully developed until like 14 to 16 weeks. So they
Okay.
can't tell with complete certainty. It's just like a nub. So they can take a guess. So don't plan your gender reveal party around that 12-week ultrasound unless you got a blood test that tells you what the gender is. Wait till after that 20-week ultrasound. To find out. And then the other misconception is the baby's position. You see people come in to get their ultrasound wanting to have the perfect profile shot, the 3D. We see so many pretty pictures out there on the internet. And a lot of times the baby just could be in a really bad position. So it could have its hands in its face. That's what mine did for the entire pregnancy. It could be curled so deep into a ball that it's tough to get the face. And the baby moves around so much. So it could be flipping around and moving. So it's each sonographer has their own skill sets, but really you you want to get the face at every ultrasound, but it just may not, the baby might not be in the best position.
Uh, with the twins, for each one of your stories, I'll have another story for the
Yeah,
twins.
I love
I'm
this.
sure.
Yeah.
I remember going, and you're so right. The babies would move. They would label twin A and twin B, but
Mhm.
they said that these are the fastest moving or the most restless twins they've come across. Well, we will have our hands full, and they were definitely right
Wow.
with the boys, but it was just not as easy to capture them. And so that is certainly true. I think the movement across the board, I can attest to that as well. And, speaking of understanding what should be the expectation, preparation was another thing that we were always curious about, where we didn't have much education or knowledge around. And it would differ, I'm sure, based on the week that you're in, what the prep would look like. But overall, what should families prep for before heading to their appointments? I guess, like, both emotionally and logistically speaking.
Yeah, it's so emotionally it can be really nerve-wracking. I think in the early days, finding that first heartbeat, the first three ultrasounds are the dating, finding the first heartbeat, the 12-week, making sure that your baby is clear of abnormalities, or chromosomal abnormalities, and then 20-week is they really look at the brain and how the baby's forming, the heart structures. It's scary. I get it. So I think knowing that the more knowledge you have, the better your care can be. So ultrasound allows doctors to understand what they need to do to care for your baby throughout your pregnancy and then possibly after birth. Um, I will say that I did IVF for my kids, and I was told that I saw the heartbeat at 6 weeks, was so excited, and I was told that there was only going to be 50% chance of making it to 12 weeks. So I didn't tell anyone. Every ultrasound was horrifying. Um, but I think that, you know, the risk of the risk once you make it to 12 weeks, the risk of miscarriages drops to less than 2%. Um, so I just think going into it, knowledge is power, and you're in good
Mhm.
hands with good medical care with ultrasound. Logistically, the first thing I would say is be on time, if not early, for your appointment. Even if you have to sit in a waiting room and wait, you the sonographers for each scan has to take a certain amount of images, capture certain number of images and measurements. So if you are late or behind, they may not be able to get those measurements or pictures. If you are early and there's plenty of time, you have a better chance of getting pretty pictures at the end, or throughout the scan. They could be able to spend some extra time trying to get that face shot or some of the pretty pictures. Um, Also, before 20 weeks, a full bladder is really helpful. It pushes the baby out. So you get a lot clearer images with a full bladder. And then wear stretchy, comfortable clothes. I made the mistake of
Yep.
wearing a dress for one ultrasound, and they're like, all right, lift up we need your stomach. And it's kind of awkward.
It's awkward.
Pull up your dress.
Yeah.
So comfortable bottoms and then top that might get gel in it. You don't care about. Yep.
Thank you for those tidbits. You talked a little bit
Yeah.
about nerves and anxiety, and I want to touch on that. I mean, I had, throughout the pregnancy, I think it was because it was high risk, but in general, any mom or dad does face that. And as you go into any kind of appointment, it's all about the results, right? How is the baby developing? I know some parents, friend parents of ours, would even buy heart rate monitor where at home they could
Mhm.
hear the heartbeat. And talking about the emotional impact, the overload mentally, emotionally, how can parents handle such nerves, especially while waiting for the results of the news, you think?
Yeah, I think a support person helps. I think that if there is any sort of bad news, you'll find out at the appointment. So I think going into the appointment, knowing that you'll come out with answers. Um, the sonographers can typically see pretty soon after they start scanning anything that might be wrong. So if it is major, they might send you straight to a doctor or the hospital. So knowing you're going to go into the appointment with with answers. I don't know if that necessarily helps with the anxiety going into it. Um, but at least you can, once you have answers, whether the baby's healthy, which hopefully it is, or not,
Mhm.
you can at least be on a path to what's next instead of the waiting period. So at that appointment, you'll probably know what's going on with the baby. Hopefully all good.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your platform. Let's talk about Sona. How does it elevate or support the ultrasound experience?
Yeah, so s- the past 40 years, parents have been receiving, when they go in to get their ultrasounds, they've been receiving these static printouts from the ultrasound machine, these thermal printouts. I've actually heard from numerous parents that they try to laminate these printouts to hold on to them forever. These are the only pictures they have of their baby while during pregnancy, and thermal images melt under heat, which is so painful to hear. So ultrasound has come so far with the 3D picture of a baby. You can pretty much see what your baby's going to look like, but what has not come far is the experience for expecting moms and families when they leave the appointment. So they're leaving with these static images, hard to share, not easily accessible. So with Sona, we created HIPAA compliant technology that integrates with the ultrasound machine and
Okay.
allows the ultrasound images and videos to go to a mobile app where parents can see their baby whenever they want, see the videos, um, and can share with loved ones. So whether that be inviting their loved ones to the app to keep up with each ultrasound they have, or sharing an individual image through text, email, social, it's just kind of makes it more engaging. Um, Pregnancy, the ultrasound goes by so fast, and you might see some cute things while you're being scanned, but you don't get to go home with them and share it. So we built Sona to allow parents to kind of have that more of a connected connection during pregnancy.
What prompted this idea and build and the mission and the motivation behind it? Was it a personal experience of you or the team, the founding team? Tell us a little bit more about what motivated this whole innovation.
Yeah, so I spent the last 10 years in the ultrasound industry working for a really large ultrasound service provider. I've seen the technological advances of ultrasound. Um, and this came about in the ultrasound ecosystem that I was working in. So we built the technology, kind of went through a beta, made sure that the sonographers that were doing the ultrasounds would offer it to patients. That's a big one. So it fits seamlessly into the sonographer workflow. And then I got pregnant in 2022, and I experienced this, and it was like a game changer. I'm like, every parent should have access to this. So we make Sona free for the ultrasound providers to use in their office. And we allow parents to get images and videos for free. We do have extra features on our app where you can upgrade for a low premium price, but we're really on a mission to get this in the hands of every pregnant expectant family.
And talking about making memorable experiences, the motivating factor, we want to understand perhaps how can families share these memories with loved ones, but without compromising on privacy. I'm sure you came across that when you were building the tech.
For sure. And that's like something that you don't think about. And it's always been important, but it's even gotten more and more important with the hacks and everything else. And healthcare systems are taking it so much more seriously. So one thing that we do is when the patient or the user receives the image, we crop off all the medical data around the image so that date of
Okay.
birth isn't on the image, due date, any measurements. They just get the image. Um, so I know I see a lot of posts on social media of a picture of one of those thermal printouts, and they have they have the name and the date of birth crossed out. So we take care of that part. We take privacy so seriously. We have a HIPAA compliance automation system to scans every day, make sure we can't be hacked essentially. We are undergoing a SOC type 2 audit.
Mhm.
We work with hospitals to complete security questionnaires, and we pass through those to get into the hospital systems. So it's really on the forefront for us in our technical team. It's not the fun part of Sona, so I don't talk about it much, but it is important to know that the privacy is our utmost concern.
Fantastic. Good to know. Thank you for the overview. Amazing tips and pointers. Wish I had this when I was pregnant, but I'm sure our audience is going to find it very helpful. Any last tidbits, pointers, key learnings you want to share?
Yeah, I guess I'm happy to, if anyone has any questions, they can reach out to me. Um, and with Sona being free and really easy for the ultra doctors and sonographers to use, um, what how we're getting out and getting into these doctors' offices, a lot of it is patients are asking for it. So a doc we get inbound all the time from doctors wanting more information. A patient asks them, um, can you tell us more about this? We've made it so easy for doctors to implement in their office. It's just a simple software download in their office, and they just have to add us as a destination on their ultrasound machine. And there is no extra work for the sonographer other than entering the patient's cell phone number into the machine before. So if anyone has questions on just ultrasounds in general, or on how their doctor's office can start using Sona, I'm happy to talk.
Absolutely. We will be sure to tag you and share some of your information at the end of this podcast. Thank you
Great.
so much for being our guest today. It was wonderful chatting and learning from you.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Have a great day.
To our listeners, if you're expecting or know someone who is, be sure to check out Sona to elevate your ultrasound experience. Ultrasound is more than just an image, it's a milestone. Be sure to follow and like and subscribe to Miss Poppins, the Art of Parenting podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next episode.